Hello, hello. Welcome to cEDH Budget Brews. I'm Tim.
And I'm Brandon.
How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing great, Tim. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. So, tonight, continuing in our series of beginner cEDH metabusters, I wanted to go over a Rakdos deck. Particularly kind of something that's a little more mid-rangey. I chose to go over Prosper. So, Prosper Tome Bound is a deck that is curated by Phoenix from the Mind Sculptors and Gustav, also known as Goosey. And he is a black, a red, and 2 colorless. He has a 1/4 with Death Touch, and then has two abilities. The first one is that Mystical Arcane. At the beginning of your end step, you exile the top card of your library, and then until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. So for 4 mana, you get a 1/4 that's recursive card draw every turn, every turn of yours, which is pretty nice. And then he also has an ability that reads whenever you play a card from exile, make a treasure. What that treasure production does is it allows you to cast a bunch of the impulse draw effects that have been printed in red, and then when you cast those, it makes mana for you. Grenzo Havoc Razor, that whenever it deals damage to a player, exile whenever a creature, let me read the card first. Deals combat damage to a player, you can choose one. You either goad or you exile the top card of that player's library. Which, when you play in cEDH decks, everything's got a low curve. This fixes your mana, which also allows you to cast all their stuff and then makes more treasures. You also get access to stuff like Professional Facebreaker, which allows you to sack one of those treasures that you just made off of Prosper to exile the top card of your library, and then you can cast it for this turn, thus making another treasure. So in theory, every time you sack a treasure to exile the card, if you can play it, you get another treasure to repeat and do that again. The thing about Prosper is that it's a little more of a mid-rangey build, so it's got a little more of like control elements, kind of in the form of like Feed the Swarm. It's got some wheels. It's got a little bit more it's got some sweepers like Fire Covenant, Abrade. So it's a little bit heavier on the interaction versus some of the other Rakdos decks. But the upside is that you get to leverage card March of the Reckless Joy, as well as the Professional Facebreaker, and Renzo to kind of help give you all of this nice incremental value. Access to Underworld Breach, as well as Cloudstone Curion loops with Dockside Extortionist, where you cast the Dockside, bounce another creature, replay the creature, bounce Dockside, replay Dockside, and as long as you can net X plus 1 treasure, which X is being the total casting cost of the creature you bounced and your Dockside, you can go infinite, at least mana-wise. And then you can sack those to the Facebreaker, all right, to kind of help fuel your breach and stuff like that. Furthermore, you get access to Bolus of Citadel. So Bolus of Citadel allows you to pay life and play the top card of your library for the mana value of that card. So what's nice is there's a lot of built-in kind of ways to keep clearing the top of the library. Again, with March and Facebreaker, just as a good example. Keep that Bolus of Citadel going. Being in Rakdos, you got access to all the fast rituals, you got access to Tainted Pact, you got access to Adnause, you've got Dockside, so you just have a really good creature suite, you have a really good spell suite, you've got a really good tutor suite. It's just, in and of itself, it's not going to be a turbo build, so therefore, it's going to have a slightly higher floor to really kind of pick up with consistent success, because you're not able to go under all the control decks. But what you get in return is you get more resiliency. And then as you kind of gain mastery over the deck and your skill improves, you will definitely get a big boon in your performance. I know I say that a lot with these decks, but this one in particular, because it's a little bit slower, you have to learn how to navigate interaction a lot more, because you're not going off on turn 2 ever. This isn't Croxa where you just World Gorger, Entomb, World Gorger, win. You have to have a little more setup to it. People will be a little more prepared. So you have to be able to fight through that. Things like Ignite the Future, Reckless Impulse, they just kind of help give you this recursive value that you can't leverage in other decks, which is what's kind of nice. As well as you just have all of the standard Rakdos Nas cards, basically. And you have mana production in the command zone.
A couple of things I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's extremely refreshing to see Yawgmoth's Will in a list again, because I haven't seen it in a list since Underworld Breach came out. So that's nice.
Okay, fair.
But also, another thing is that I wanted to mention personally is that because you're not in blue, navigating the interaction is a lot harder, and it's going to make you a better player, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And so I think it's extremely important that, like, once you get more used to navigating interaction, any other deck you pick up from here, it's going to be easy as pie, even another blue deck.
All right. Well, and Prosper does have like a really strong card pool. Just being a Rakdos in and of itself. I mean, you get Naj, you get Dockside, you can play Pier, you get Citadel, you get all the Black Tutors, you get Red Blast, Pyroblast. Like, you get all of the things, you get a lot of the tools that you need for success. It's just going to be a little bit slower pacing. And you're leveraging the exile effects to be able, and then playing them. The trade-off is you get more resiliency for the speed. The downside is that resiliency also makes you a little more susceptible to people being able to interact because you're attempting to threaten a win a little bit later in the game. I mean, that's really kind of the basics with it. There is a primer. I do have a budget version of this deck. I will post it in the description. I don't remember if it was a 750, probably a 750 list. I personally have been finding it a little, to build decks of the quality that I feel comfortable endorsing. I have been feeling that the heavy Nas builds need a higher budget to really maintain effectiveness, because what I used to be able to get in a $500 build like a couple of years ago when I started doing this is now basically a $900 deck. Unfortunately, like cards just like Chromox that used to be like $20, $15 are now like 80. And so it's really pricing a lot of stuff out that I used to be able to include. So I feel that like especially with these faster decks, like they just get they just lose too much to really like be effective. But anyway, any other questions?
No, but another thing I wanted to mention is that this deck is really interesting because it plays a lot of cards that people play casually, such as Grenzo, such as what's that one?
Layla, the Blade Reforged, Magda.
Yeah, it's playing a lot of like really fun cards that people like to play in casual formats.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that these are included, people are already going to have a little bit more comfortability with them because it's something they've already played in another deck.
Right. Well, and the thing that's nice is a lot of the cards in this deck that cost money, you will play in every deck that has black and red in it. But that's the thing. So like a lot of the stuff that costs money, like Dockside or like Bolus of Citadel or Demonic Tutor, like you'll just play those over and over and over and over again. So they're not bad. Now, the one thing that is nice about Rakdos is, at least from like a cutting corners perspective, like for budget, is that Black Red has a lot of good cheap lands that you can kind of use while it won't drop it all the way down. Like if you cut out like the fetches and the bad lands, like the mana base isn't too bad, and you can shore it up with other cards to kind of replace it. You might have to go off of Tainapac to do it, but that's fine. Like if you're really trying to like budget it down. I do think you really need a Dockside for this deck though, because a lot of what makes this deck tick is the treasure interactions. And Dockside is the best treasure card out of all of them. Because one of the main ways this deck is going to win is with Mayhem Devil and doing Dockside treasure loops, where you just sack a bunch of treasures and ping everybody to death. Well, with that, I think we will close up for the night. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the description, below the description. I will leave this deck. I will leave my budget version down in the description, as well as links to all of our other resources, our Discord. If you want to support us, you can check out the link to the Patreon, which is below. And again, everybody, have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Bye.